Hello everyone and welcome back to Chess with MNM. Today we will see the third game of the round 1 of Lindores Abbey Rabid challenge between Hikaru Nakamura and Daniil Dubov. Now before I start this video, now this is the third game of the finals, okay, of the round 1, and Nakamura won the first and the second game. And it was a little bit boring games, so I will not share it in the channel. You can watch it on Chess24. However, this is the third game. Nakamura is in the lead by 2 points, so Dubov has to win this game because if you draw it, so simply Nakamura will win the round.
You're the last one. Complete the mission.
So here Nakamura with the white, Dubov with the white pieces and Nakamura with the black pieces. Dubov opened this game by c4, the English opening. e5 by Nakamura, knight to c3, knight to f6, knight to f3, knight to c6, the four knight variation, the four knights variation, and now g3 by Dubov. g3, I want to develop my bishop into the g2 into the h1 a8 diagonal. d5 by Nakamura hitting the center, c capture on d5, knight capture on d5, and now bishop to g2 developing the bishop on the h1 a8 diagonal, also preparing to castling into the queen side. Knight back to b6, and this is the most played move in this position, because here if you play something like bishop to e7, okay, then knight capture on d5 comes, and after queen capture on d5 and castles. Okay, now at this moment, at this position, there is no perfect discover on this queen on the d5, because something like knight capture on e5, simply the black will win the knight, and knight to d4, again the black will win the knight, and knight to g5, our knight back to e1, simply the black will move his queen back and there is nothing to worry about. But the problem here that this queen on the d5 is on dangerously diagonal, on this bishop's diagonal. So for this reason here, the most played move here is knight back to b6, and this is what happened in the game. Knight back to b6 by Nakamura, and now castles by Dubov. Bishop to e7, I want to prepare to castle, and now a3, I want to push b4 and then b5, attacking this knight. When you move your knight, then I will be able to capture on the e5. Castles by Nakamura, and now b4 by Dubov, I want to push b5 and then I want to capture on the e5. So here Dubov played bishop to e6, developing his bishop. And the idea here that if you play something like b5, then I have knight to d4, okay? And now you cannot capture on the e5 because bishop to b3 will be deadly. Bishop to b3 attacking the queen. The only square for the queen is the e1 square, but then knight to c2 again comes attacking the queen, also the rook on the a1, and after queen to d1, knight capture on a1, after queen back to e1, then knight to c2 again comes attacking the queen, after queen to d1, then knight back to d4 guarding the bishop attacking the queen, and after queen to e1, then simply queen to d6 attacking the knight, connecting the rooks. Also by this the black will be up a whole rook. So for this reason here, after bishop to e6, Dubov played rook to b1. Rook to b1, now you don't have bishop to b3 anymore, so now the threat is b5 and then knight capture on e5. So here after rook to b1, f6 by Dubov, f6 guarding the pawn by a pawn. Also, it's not a problem to opening this diagonal, the a to g8 diagonal on your king, because there is light squares bishop on the e6 guarding that or controlling the diagonal, so there is nothing to worry about this diagonal. So here after f6, Dubov pushed b5. b5, I want to grab more space on the queen side. Knight to d4 by Nakamura, and now e3 kicking this knight. Knight capture on f3, bishop capture on f3, the pawn is, the b7 pawn is under attack, so now rook to b8 guarding the b7 pawn. d4 by Dubov. d4, I want to open the middle, and I want to open the middle for my pieces, because my pieces is so active, and it will be so useful if I open in the middle. And Nakamura accepted that, and he captured on d4. E capture on d4, and now queen to d7, I want to bring the rook to the d file to put more pressure on the d4 pawn. Rook to e1, putting a pressure on the e6 bishop. Rook f to e8 by Nakamura, and now a4, I want to push a5, threatening the knight, and also I want to grab more space on the queen side. Here after a4, Nakamura played bishop back to f7, moving his bishop from the rook's file, and now a5 by Dubov attacking the knight. And we will see in the game how these pawns, the a and also the b pawns, affected on the result of the game. Okay, so here after a5, Okay, knight to d5 by Dubov, and now knight capture on d5, bishop capture on d5, and now simply bishop to f4. The idea why bishop to f4 here, if you capture on the f3, example bishop capture on f3, then I will capture by the queen, and if you capture by the queen, queen capture on d4, then b6 will be so strong move. b6 here, if you capture a capture on b6, I will capture by the a pawn, a capture on b6, and the problem here, you cannot capture or you cannot push the pawn, because if you do that, then you will lose your rook on the b8, and even here if you play something like rook to c8, trying to protecting that pawn, so rook to b7 will be so strong move, and b capture on c7 will be the next move. And even if you bring the other rook to protect the pawn, so simply you will lose your bishop. So for this season here, after bishop to f4, Nakamura didn't capture on the f3, and here he simply played rook b to c8. Rook b to c8, adding and protecting the c7, or supporting the c7 pawn. Okay? Bishop to g4, attacking the queen. You cannot move your queen, because if you move it, simply you will lose your rook on the c8. So f5 only move. And now bishop to h5 by Dubov. And it's a beautiful idea by Dubov. Why? Because here, if the black push g6, then bishop back to f3 comes. And the idea here by g6, now the dark squares on the king side is so weak, and it will be so dangerously on this king on the g8. So for the season here, after bishop to h5, Nakamura said, no, I will not push g6, and I will not weak my king side, and I will play rook e to d8, moving away my rook from the threat, and also putting a nice pressure on the d file on the d4 pawn. And here, after rook e to d8, Dubov played bishop back to f3, bishop back to f3, saying to Nakamura, if you capture on the f3, then I will capture by the queen. You cannot capture on the d4, because if you capture on the d4, then simply you will lose your bishop on the e7. So for this season here, after bishop back to f3, Nakamura moved his bishop back to f8, and now bishop to e5, developing the bishop on the a1 h8 diagonal, and especially to put a pressure on the g7 square. Here, b6 by Nakamura. b6, let's exchange some pawns on the king side, and please, let's open the c file for my pieces, and Dubov accepted that, and he captured a capture on b6. C capture on b6, and now queen to a4 attacking, sorry, not queen to a4 now. Here bishop capture on d5 now, and after queen capture on d5, now queen to a4. Queen to a4, attacking the pawn on the a7. Rook to d7, guarding the a7 pawn, and now rook b to c1. Let's exchange the rook, and if you exchange the rook, then I will recapture by the rook, and the c file will be mine. So for this season here, Nakamura said, no, I will not exchange the rooks, and here Nakamura played rook c to d8, putting more pressure on the d4 square. And here, rook to c6 by Dubov. Rook to c6, I want to bring the other rook to the c file, and then rook to c7 comes, attacking the pawn on the a7. After rook capture, I will win the pawn on the a7. So here, Nakamura pushed f4. f4, trying to destroying the king's side, or something like that, or trying to do something on the king side. But here, Dubov accepted that free pawn, and he said, okay, it's not a problem, it's a free pawn, it's just captured. G capture on f4. Bishop to d6. I want to capture the defender of the d4 pawn, and now queen to c4 by Dubov. Queen to c4. I want to capture one of the attackers of my d4 pawn. Queen capture on c4, rook capture on c4, bishop capture on e5, d capture on e5, and now rook to d4. If you capture rook to d4, threatening the rook, also the pawn on the f4. Here, Dubov played rook e to c1, rook e to c1. If you capture on the c4, I will recapture by the rook, and you cannot capture by the on the f4, because my rook is guarding the square by indirectly way. h5, sorry, here what? h5 by Nakamura, trying to grab more space on the king side, trying to do something on the king side, but here Dubov played simply king to g2. King to h7, trying to developing his king. Rook capture on d4, rook capture on d4. Now my king can protect the pawn on the f3, so it's not a problem to capturing on the d4. King to f3, protecting the pawn on the f3, and now rook to d5, attacking the b5 pawn. Here, Dubov pushed e6. The idea here, you cannot capture, of course, on the b5, because e7 and the next move e8, and there is no way to prevent this. So for this season here, After e7, Nakamura played king to g6. King to g6, trying to stopping this the passed e pawn. And here Dubov played rook to e1. Rook to e1, supporting his passed pawn on the e file. Rook back to d8, stopping the pawn. e7, rook and now e7, rook to e8, and now simply rook to e5. Rook to e5, developing the rook, and also we will see why this move played by Dubov. Here, Nakamura played king to f6. I want to capture on the e7, and Dubov said welcome capture on the e7, king to e4. The idea here, if you capture on e7, and this is what happened in the game, I will capture by my rook capture on e7, and after king capture on e7, simply I will play king to f5. And this is what happened in the game, and after king to f5 at this position that Hikaru Nakamura resigned the game. Now why Hikaru Nakamura resigned the game? Because okay, now the pawns is equal. There is 4 pawns against 4 pawns, but the problem that these 2 pawns stop it by 1 pawn. And this is what I said in the first of the video. I said that this pawn on the b5 will affect too much on the result of the game, because if this pawn didn't stop these 2 pawns, so simply the black will make a queen on the queen side, and it will be losing for the white. But by this pawn on the b5, something like a5 doesn't work, because I have b capture on a6, and a7 a8 is the next moves. So for this reason here, you cannot push this pawn, and you cannot push this pawn. And here, example, if you played anything like let's say, hey, let's say here you played something like king to f7, then here I will push h4 waiting move. And now saying to Nakamura, I was saying to the black, show me what you will do here. Here if the black push something like g6, then simply bishop to to g5, and after something like king to g7, then simply f5, g capture on f5, pawn king capture on f5, and now after something like king to f7, f5 f4 comes, and after you will just move your king. There is nothing to do except this. And simply here the white will play rook king to g5, king to g5. He will capture the pawn on the h5, and then he will have two passed pawns on the edge, also on the f files, and there is no way to stop all of this. So for this season here, after king to f5, in this position, that Hikaru Nakamura resigned the game. So yeah, this is the 3rd game, and this is the video. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, you can check out my previous videos. You can also support us on Patreon. The link is below the link is below the video. And let's see what will happen in the 4th game. See you.